If every time you use Claude, the output comes back sounding like it was written by no one in particular, the problem is almost certainly not your prompts. There's one thing that changes this, and it takes about 10 minutes to set up, and it works on the free plan. I'm Joanne. I create interior designers on AI and business systems, and I've been running my own studio for over 20 years. And this is a setup that most designers skip completely. And it's exactly why some designers look like they are using an entirely different tool than everyone else. So hit like if you're staying, and let's get into it. A quick note before we start. The full step-by-step guide for today's setup, including a fill-in template you can copy straight in, is inside my free course for interior designers. It lives in my community, the Design Success Circle. It's completely free and it runs on Claude's free plan, so no subscription is needed to get a feel for it. The link's in the description. So here's the thing most designers do not realize. The problem is not your prompts. When output comes back generic, the instinct is to write a better prompt, longer, more detail, more instructions up front. And that does help for one session. But here's what's actually happening underneath. Claude has no memory between conversations, and every time you open up a new chat, it starts completely blank. It doesn't remember your name. It doesn't know your studio. It's never heard of your clients, your tone, or how you like to close a professional email. So when you ask it to write something, it writes for the average interior designer: polite, professional, correct, forgettable. Because forgettable is all it has to work with. The designers getting output that they can actually use have done one thing differently. They've introduced themselves to Claude once in the right place, and Claude has known who they are ever since. And this is the fix. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it right now for free. Let's get clear on what exactly is going on here, because once you understand it, the fix makes complete sense. Claude knows what an interior design client email looks like. It knows what a project update looks like. It knows what a polished proposal should cover. It's been trained on an enormous amount of professional writing, and it knows all of this in a general sense. But knowing what these things look like generally is completely different from knowing what your looks like specifically. When you type, write me a follow-up email to a client who hasn't responded to my quote, Claude produces the average version of that, something polite, professional, inoffensive, and completely interchangeable with anyone else's version of the same email, because that is all it has to work with. A designer I recently started working with told me that she would generally spend around 40 minutes rewriting a Claude email, not because the structure was wrong, but because it sounded like a form letter. No warmth, no studio personality, phrases she'd never actually used. She went in expecting a time saver and came out more frustrated than when she'd started. That is not a Claude problem, that is a context problem. Claude was blank, it had nothing to work from. And now think about what the same prompt looks like when Claude actually knows you. Same tool, but this time it knows you run a high-end residential studio, that you write with warmth but maintain a professional tone, that you never start a client email with, "I hope this finds you well." It knows what you call your projects and how you refer to your clients. Same prompt, completely different output. The only difference is the introduction. The natural response when output is off is to write a better prompt, add more detail, give more context, pack more instructions in. And yes, that does help. But heads up, you're solving the wrong problem. When you write a longer prompt every session, what you are actually doing is re-explaining yourself over and over. That adds up in ways that are not always obvious. It's not just the extra time, it is the drain of having to brief something that should already know you every single time you open a chat. You wouldn't brief a contractor who has worked with your studio for 2 years the same way you'd brief someone walking in for the first time. The relationship changes what is possible. Shared context is what makes working together efficient. Claude can have that kind of relationship with you, but a longer prompt every session is not how you build it. This is a brief briefing problem, not a prompting problem. And the briefing has to only happen once. Here's exactly how to do it on Claude's free plan. It's a one-time setup. It'll take you around 10 minutes, and every conversation from this point forward starts from that same baseline. So head on to Claude AI, click your profile icon in the top right corner and open settings. And you'll see a section called custom instructions with one text box, instructions for Claude. That is your space. This is where you introduce yourself to Claude, and there are three things to include. The first is who you are, your studio background, where you're based, how long you've been in practice, the kind of projects you take on, the kind of clients you work with. Think of it as what you would tell a capable new contractor on their first day. Nothing formal, just the things that would change how they approach the work for you. The second is your tone of voice, how you write, your level of formality with clients, the way you open a client email and the way you close one, phrases you use naturally, and just as importantly, the phrases you never use. Whatever your version of "I hope this message found you well" is listed here. Claude will not use it. The third is your working preferences, how you like things structured, whether you prefer bullet points or flowing prose, short direct sentences, or something more. Any output preference that makes the difference between something you would send and something you would have to write first. Three things, one box, done once. Now, the temptation is to write two vague sentences and move on. So resist that. The more specific you are here, the more specific Claude's output will be. This is not a profile, it's a briefing. So treat it like one. And the good news is I have already written a fill-in template for all these sections. You don't have to start from scratch. You fill in your details, you can paste the whole thing into the box and you're done. And you'll find the template inside the free course in my community. The link's in the description. The free course walks through this entire process step by step. The template is there, plus 5 copy paste prompts for the jobs that interior designers do every week, all free, all on the free plan of Claude. So once that box is filled in, the shift is noticeable straight away. The first time Claude comes back with a draft that actually sounds like something you would send, it's genuinely a great moment, not only because the AI can write, but because it got the tone right. It chose the right level of warmth. It didn't use any of the phrases that make you flinch. You stop rewriting from scratch and you start editing. And there's a real difference between those two activities. Rewriting from scratch takes 20 minutes. Editing a well-calibrated first draft takes 2. Across a month of client emails, project updates, proposal cover letters, scope change notices, you're looking at several hours back every week. And here is the part that surprises designers most. It is not just the voice that improves, it is the thinking. Claude starts making decisions about what feels right without being asked. It chooses the right formality for your client base. It structures things the way you structure them. You stop having to explain yourself twice. Once that foundation is in place, if you want to go further and have Claude not just sound like you, but actually carry on the jobs in your studio, the proposals, the quote comparisons, the client updates, the onboarding documents, that is where co-work comes in. This is the paid upgrade and it gives you a whole other level of what is possible. But the starting point is always this: get the voice right first, and every other workflow builds on top of it. Now you know why Claude sounds generic and exactly what to do about it. The setup takes 10 minutes and runs on the free plan and changes every conversation after it. The fill-in template is in the free course. There's a lot more on this channel covering how to take this further once this foundation is in place. Make sure you like and subscribe, and see you back here.